So from the job that is not going to be open this week to the job that is open this week, yesterday, Bud and I were able to jump on the horn, break down the breaking news of Billy Napier being out. Not surprising news, though it did come after a win. It'd be like that. And we warned you, just because you beat Mississippi State does not necessarily change something that might have already been in the works for a while. So let's go ahead and spin this thing forward. Danny, how do you see this Florida job? How do you see this Florida search? What are the parts of it that are standing out to you right now?
It's one that you can't afford to screw up, but even just saying that, they can screw it up, as we've seen before.
Yeah.
Like there's no 100% lock. There's just over time. I just got back from Wisconsin. I thought Luke Fickell was an A+ hire. It's been worse than anybody could have imagined. I do think there's some guys on a short list that I would call, but Lane Kiffin would be number one, but I'm not so certain he's leaving. I think he's one. I think Rhett Lashley is another one that I would call. I'd call Eli Drinkwitz. Like a lot of these same names, I think would be really good hires. But, and we've talked a little bit about this, I think, last week. This, I think, is the type of place where you need somebody with the alpha type of personality can say, everybody get out of my way, leave me alone, let me coach, let me do my thing, give me the money, and give me the money to go get my players, but get out of my way. There's a lot of dysfunction. There's a lot of different voices and this is not just exclusive to Gainesville. It's a lot of different universities where some of the power players do more damage than actual, help. So, yeah, I think it's a great job, but I think it's going to take a very strong personality to come in there and take this thing over and really get this thing turned in the right direction.
Tom?
I do think that one of the interesting things here is that like the job market's changed very quickly in the last few years, whereas I think like Penn State's going through a coaching search right now, and they haven't had one in like 20 years. So it's like for them, there's a huge change in it. But even if you just haven't done it in a few years, like it's not just we're the bigger program, we're going to write the bigger check and you're going to come, because like all the other sitting coaches in the Big Ten and the SEC are also still getting paid a ton of money. So like if you go after Lane Kiffin, okay, we can offer you this much. Well, Ole Miss can match it. Well, you can recruit better here. Well, you can still recruit to Ole Miss because now you can just buy players and get them out of the portal. It's the same thing with Drinkwitz. It was the same thing with Cignetti at Indiana. So, like, your top targets aren't necessarily as gettable as you want, but you're still going to go after them. And that's why I feel like I don't know if he would be the first choice, but he's already on the market. James Franklin. Like, you want somebody who can come in and, like, Dan, you just mentioned, kind of be like the head politician and get everybody in line. James Franklin can do that. He was able to drag Penn State, which was very much stuck in the past when he took over there, with a lot of the same people with a lot of the same opinions that you'd see at Florida right now. And he was able to kind of get them to shut up and follow his way to help dig them out of that. And obviously they didn't achieve what they ultimately wanted to achieve, but it's hard to argue that they didn't achieve a whole hell of a lot. And if you're Florida right now, like, yeah, the Urban Meyer era was a long time ago, fellas. Like, you've still got a lot of built-in advantages, but you've kind of got to build that program back up. You've got plenty of talent, but I do think you need alignment, and I feel like James Franklin is somebody who can bring it. If you miss out on Kiffin and Drinkwitz, who I perfectly understand why both of those guys would be the top targets on your list.
With Franklin, I think it's the because I totally agree with you. I think he's going to be a really good hire for somebody. I think Florida State, I think it'd be a pretty good hire, especially considering what they need as far as recruiting high school. I think he'd do a wonderful job there. I would want to know, what's your staff going to look like? What coordinators are you going to bring with you? And what type of control are you going to give them? And the big game thing, I know it's an issue, but I do, and I think in the SEC, maybe that could be problematic. In the ACC, I don't know if you're having that many significant problems. So I think James Franklin is a great hire. And if I'm believing what he said, which is I'm going to get right back into it, I think he's going to get one of these top tier jobs.
So Bud pushed back. He said when we were talking about this yesterday, Bud said he thought Florida fans would be disappointed with James Franklin as a hire.
So Absolutely. I do think there is something to that. I do kind of agree with Bud on that one.
If you're a booster at Florida, you're not happy with that hire.
Because he's somebody else's trash. Like you don't, that Florida, they want to have somebody
who's flopped in almost every big game. Like last year, they did not beat a single team that was top 15 in SP plus. All right. Like if you're a Florida fan,
yeah, I guarantee you Florida boosters are SP plus.
Okay? Like SMU and Boise, like they're not Like they're not like, oh, good wins there, right? It's like, okay, like you lucked your way into the semifinals. Like
Who
is what they're gonna
besides
think.
So you're going to hire a coach who hasn't been in any big games to lose? Like, what are you looking for? Like, you hired Billy Napier from Lafayette, and now you're going to look down on James Franklin?
Franklin's teams don't score points, and I think given what you've seen with Florida when they had Muschamp and when they had Napier, I do think that offense is going to be an emphasis.
Yeah, that's why I think Kiffin and Drinkwitz are at the top of their list.
Yes, and Fish, I think they would have over Franklin, and probably 2-3 more guys too. But I think Franklin would do a good job there. But like they want somebody to do a great job.
I would just say if you were a Florida booster and you look at James Franklin and turn your nose down at him, you're the reason why your program has sucked for as long as it has, because that's just an idiotic opinion to have.
They'd want to know, why can you win big games here when you couldn't win at Penn State?
Because I'll have better.
But how many big games has Lane Kiffin won?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think if you're Florida,
yeah, but see, it's a bunch of young guys.
Yeah,
look,
like Florida,
he scores points. He's kind of a native son. Obviously, like Florida has a lot more resources than Ole Miss does. Now it's closer than it used to be. To Tom's point, like he absolutely nailed that. But if you're Lane, you jump to Florida because you don't really believe you can win a national title at Ole Miss, and I think you're correct in that belief.
Gosh, I don't know. So you think he's leaving?
I didn't say I think he's leaving. I'm saying if you're Lane, the reason why you would jump to Florida, it's probably not salary. Right?
I don't know. I think today's
location. The reason's in the name of the school.
Yeah. I mean, we got Vanderbilt on the cusp of competing for an SEC championship. Aren't in this new era? Aren't you closer to winning a title anywhere you go? I mean, are there 5 programs that you actually have a significant edge? But
I think something. I think there's something to be said for Florida getting it done.
Location.
Florida getting it done with multiple coaches, being the flagship university of the state of Florida. I mean,
no state tax in Florida. That does give you a bit of an NIL edge too.
Oxford, Mississippi, still might be a little bit of a sell.
Yeah, it's hard to get to. Yeah,
not calling Gainesville a bustling metropolis, but at least when you're trying to get the best high school talent, if you want to level it up, because he has shown obviously at Ole Miss, we call him the Portal King, but if you want to be able to build that thing up to be sustainable, right, you gotta be able to have the high school recruiting going, and I think you've got a better chance at better high school recruiting at Florida than you do at Ole Miss.
W knows better than W don't, though, right? Like Lane is probably pretty happy at Ole Miss. I think they give him what he asked for. He knows who he's working for. Scott Strickland got that extension, but I think it's fair to ask, like, would he have received that extension had Florida had a real president right now, not an interim, and a dean of the medical school and a dean of the law school? Like, they have other real, like, university business stuff they got to tackle. Is that extension kind of like, hey, Scott, handle this, type thing, and then transition into retirement? Like, he's already botched 2 coaching hires there. Like, most people don't get to make 3. So if you're Lane, it's like, who am I working for going forward? How long is Scott really going to be the AD? Don't know.
If
you're
care? Worried about your dean of medical school before your football coach, you're not a football school.
Ooh, they're a hoop school, right? Ask Jacqueline.
I guess. I don't know. Yeah. But I know Big Ten schools who haven't had deans of certain colleges who are still making football hires.